Okay, we're live. Kind of, not really live.
Nice.
Everybody, this is going to be very exciting. Seth, I'm excited to talk to you. We talked for like 4 minutes before this and decided not to really say anything until we were recording.
Right.
So, I'll just add some context. You were just talking to Jacob Hansen on Thoughtful Faith. And I've spoken with Jacob before.
Debating.
Really nice guy. Yes, you were. Sorry. You and Jacob just had like an official, like with time and everything, a formal debate. And wow, everybody should go watch that first. I don't want what we say here to influence how people think about it. So I'll put a link in that. I'll put a link in the description for that. Go watch that. Then come back to this and then watch this. That's the correct order of operations. And I'm a hypocrite because I am only like 60% of the way through the debate, but I was watching a toddler all morning and it's fine. We both, I forgave myself, so it's fine. So, with all of that said, I mean, let's just dive in. What is it that you want to talk about how this debate went? The way this is going to kind of work is we're going to chop this video in half. The first half of this video will be on my channel, and then the second half of this video will be on your channel. So for the audience, just to be aware that when we're done talking, go over to Transcendent Philosophy and watch part 2. I don't know what this is going to be called yet, so just watch part 2 of this.
Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of exhilarating. It was my first formal debate, and there's a couple variables that were unique. I was standing a little different aesthetic. I thought I had really bad video quality, so I was really unhappy from like the technical standpoint. But from the argumentation, from the logic, I thought I had an interesting angle where I basically took an angle of epistemology and Jacob took an angle of ontology. And we kind of had these two different angles of looking at the question, which explains reality better, theism or atheism, with me representing atheism.
Yeah. And I don't want to give too much away, but this is my first observation about the angle that Jacob took, is that as soon as it came time for him, basically you start, and in your opening arguments, which I think it was brilliant tactically for you to go first. I think what you did, because and he mentioned that you wanted to go first, but he was prepared with slides, and I'm going to ask you about why you wanted to go first and what your thought process was there. But he was very slide heavy the whole time, which I think became a disadvantage around like responding, because you didn't say any of the stuff that he anticipated you saying, and now he's responding to a straw man, and it was over at that point, in my opinion, because he was glued to this thing that he had prepared, and you were doing a third thing that he wasn't ready for, which made it very, very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
As somebody who happens to agree with what you were espousing. But the thing that he did that was so interesting is, as he was getting ready to make his big point, which was, remember, the case that he's making is that a theistic worldview explains reality better. And how does he choose to do that? By making a scientific argument for fine-tuning of the universe. Now, most of us would think of that as so ironic that he decides to explain why theism helps explain things better. And how does he explain it? Using an atheistic worldview. Jacob, I have a message for you. If you are trying to explain how your worldview is better, and you need to use a different worldview to explain how your worldview is better, your worldview is not better. I yield my time.
Oh, yeah. I think that's such a brilliant point you made. Like, once you said it, it was just like, oh, the irony. It's so powerful.
The irony. Yes.
It's so, and it when you think about it, it shows you the pattern of theism. It's a lot of post hoc justification. Like whenever like, science explains something, then the theists rush in and say that's because of God. They like try to take credit for science. And I didn't have time to refute all of Jacob's arguments. He wanted to go in there and be like, theism is the reason for science. That's just, patently false. Like,
Yeah.
science, it was invented by Greek philosophy. Where was science during the Christian epoch, right? During the Dark Ages? Like, we call the era of Christianity Dark Ages because they didn't have science. They had Christianity, they did not have science. The Greek philosophy disappeared. Where did it go? The Greek philosophy went to Islam. The Islamic Empire had this golden age because they were incorporating scientific logic. And then finally, Islam translates Greek philosophy back into like European languages, and then Christianity takes credit for it. It's like, come on, guys, so biased.
History, it may be written by the victors.
Oh, totally.
It may just be, hey, weren't we the good guys all along?
Yeah.
It's just that, yeah. All that good stuff that you like, we did that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. So that was my first, and I love talking about this stuff with you because I feel like you're so scientifically minded and you have such this like vast, just like wealth of knowledge in your head. And I feel like the thing that I'm good at is I can like notice like the positioning and the tactics of something. Like I can see like more of the meta thing, and I can't get into the like all of that history that you just laid out. I would never remember that, much less would I be able to repeat that back in a coherent way. But what I can do is say, isn't it ironic that Jacob used this to do, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like you and I can sometimes
brilliant
be
observation.
Like the yin and yang of this type. Like this is our bread and butter, man. Other than, I don't know about you, but bread and butter is also my bread and butter. So, okay.
Do you like, in talking about yin yang, do you like my shirt?
Yeah, I noticed that. So what, because I can't see the details that well. What are the white, are they birds?
Yeah, they're birds. And it's a forest below. So it's, but nice. I chose this shirt for the debate to highlight one of the things I was trying to emphasize was the law of non-contradiction. And so that I was trying to like embody that a little bit, the idea of contradiction.
Yeah. And so that's actually something that I also wanted to talk to you about. So I'm going to put that on my notes right now. But so what was it that made you like, you wanted to go first? Did you know that you were going to do a third thing and throw off his whole groove by going first? Was that the plan?
It was a lot more banal than my choice to go first was a lot more boring than some meta strategy. It was mostly because I had packed in a lot of content, and I wanted to go first to like get it off my chest so I could focus on. I wanted to stop focusing on all of my content and focus on learning his perspective so I can.
I see.
So by dumping out my content out, that let me kind of switch gears to focus on responding to him.
Okay, that makes sense. And then what were the thoughts going through your head as he's making his case and you're like, you're taking notes, you're getting ready to respond? Was there anything that he said that I'll stop right there. Yeah. What was going through your mind as he's saying things and you're making notes?
I said, this is going to be easy. He's only targeting one thing, like only fine tuning. Like I was preparing for like a suite of arguments. I was preparing for abiogenesis. I was, I had all of these different issues that I was preparing for. He only focused on one. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah. What?
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But
yeah.
But at the same time, it was difficult because it's like this, like it's this, it's the area of our ignorance. It's kind of a cheap shot,
right,
to target the hardest thing to understand.
Yes. I actually want to bring something up. It's at minute 22. You prefaced, I thought that you can never plan how these things are going to go, but oh wait, I need to go to thoughtful faith. I'm just gonna say it, and then maybe we'll cut this a little bit out because I have to do some typing because I forgot to bring up the clip. But
oh no.
What I'm trying to say is, you kind of in your opening statement said, theists have always targeted the ignorance that we have as a collective knowledge. They say, well, since we can't explain this, it could be God. And you
Absolutely.
talk absolutely, and you talked about how anciently it was to explain lightning and weather and all these other sorts of things. And as science has, which many have made this point before, but it's always worth mentioning again, as science explains natural phenomenon, the theists have to go into the smaller and smaller portion of ignorance that we have as a society. And right now, the ignorance, which it's a manufactured ignorance, because it's a question that doesn't need to exist. The question, first of all, we don't understand how the Big Bang occurred. We don't understand that, right? We don't know, like, but then theists throw in another question and they say, but why? We don't need a why. We don't need a why.
Oh,
It
I have
comes out of
issues
this.
with why.
Yes, it comes out of this worldview. I remember I had a huge problem when I was a Mormon with people saying everything happens for a reason, because what I thought is that puts the cause after the effect of something. So you say, "Oh man, that sucks so much that this thing happened to your leg, but now isn't it great? Somebody's going to come into your life and you're going to be able to help them." And it's like you just put the cause of you breaking your leg or finding cancer in your leg or something like that after it actually happening, which is so logically incoherent. And so what somebody said to me not too long ago was, everybody says everything happens for a reason. That's not true. Really, there's a reason that everything happens. You just switch it and now you're good, And so I totally forgot where I was going with that, because I was trying to circle it back to Jacob. Let me think here for a second. But what does that make you think of as I speak?
Let me rant
Or
on
as
the. Yeah. I just want to rant on the question of why, right? Like,
Yes.
there's a difference between asking why and asking how. And, the problem with why is it smuggles in conscious thought processes, right? It's like, how did you
Yes.
break your leg? Well, there's a natural explanation for how. It's like you slipped, you fell, physics, boom. But when you say, why did you break your leg? It's like, what was your thought process that led you to the action that led you to break it? Well, I wanted to run faster, and that was why I fell. So you're smuggling in a mind
Yes.
into the question of a why. So when they say, why do we have a universe? They're just smuggling in a God. They're like, what was the mentality of God to bring about the universe? It's like, sometimes there's not a why if there's no mind.
Yes. Yes. Very, very. Thank you. You said it perfectly. So we're at about minute 22 of the debate, which I screenshotted earlier, because this is him falling into, you had previously, at this point, you have mentioned theists are always kind of pigeonholing us into the one area of ignorance that we have. And you're just making a God of the gaps fallacy. And then, and you said this at this point, probably 7 minutes before this happened. So I'm going to hit play.
In looking at these pool balls,
and I'm a little ahead.
Sorry.
So we're going to
now, real quick, you can imagine looking at this group of pool balls in no particular order, and understandably, you would infer that they just happen to be this way by chance. However, on the other hand, one moment. On the other hand, if the pool balls had been laid out in just the right way as to spell I love you, you would rightfully infer the best explanation to be that a mind was involved in the arrangement of that pattern. What other possibility is there? The balls are either arranged by random chance or else they are arranged by design. So unless my opponent can show that there is some other way that things can arrange themselves that are not ultimately either design or random chance, then he will have to accept premise one.
Unless my opponent can show that it was something something great and provable, then it was God. It was God, everyone.
Yeah.
Unless somebody else can show exactly how it was done, then it was God. And I thought
Yeah.
it was so funny that you had gone first, because when I heard him say this, I thought, well, there it is. There's Jacob making Seth's point.
Yeah.
By the way, Jacob, if you ever watch this, I mean, good job. Well, I still think you're a nice guy, but you lost on this one.
Yeah, exactly. We love you, but you're wrong. Yeah, it's so typical. It's this game of shifting the burden of proof. It's like you have to prove all of this ignorance wrong, or else I'm right. It's like you're just asserting you're right. That's a horrible argument. And the thing that frustrates me about theism is they pretend like their God is such a simple explanation. It's like we've got this like infinitely complex being. We've got no explanation for how he exists, why he exists, the prior cause of his existence. We just assert that he's there and he solves everything. It's like, no, you can't. That's like a cheat code for like, it's like we're just playing logical cheat codes. We invent the thing that solves everything and now we're right. Like, where's the evidence? What are you talking about?
Yes, and one of the things that Jacob kept doing was he just, so his premises was essentially something like it's either, I don't even understand. Maybe I'm ignorant here, and you could help illuminate me. Is it okay if we open up these slides? I want to hop to
my slides, or which slides?
Actually, wait. I think I can. I was going to say your slides, but I have Jacob's three premises right here.
I want to. Can we address the video clip that you just brought up before?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you know Christopher from Before the Crow's Nest?
Yeah.
He made a brilliant comment in the comments of the debate, and this is what he was targeting, that specific analogy. So remember when like the random pool, like all the pool balls are just randomly scattered, right?
Yes.
Well, he says when you showed all the random pool balls, I immediately saw the constellation Cassiopeia. So basically what he's saying is that humans have this ability to see patterns that aren't there. You know what I mean? It's like confirming my argument. Like humans we're a flawed creature. You can give us randomness in this. You see the random clouds. Oh, that cloud looks like a dinosaur. You know, humans have a bias to do this all the time.
Yeah, that. Oh so man, Christopher,
it's basically an illusion.
Well, and I don't want to get too postmodernist about this because I think they're wrong about a lot of things, but the symbols that the pool balls ended up making, they only have meaning to a very small subset of living creatures. You know what I mean? Like who's to say, and why does it matter that it has meaning to us over some other species? You know what I mean? Like maybe something that does seem random to us has meaning to a cow or something like that. Like there's no it's so, I think that the way that you phrased it was selection bias, and it's basically just picking things that we would find meaningful because we're the ones who have to find what's meaningful, and it's just a cycle over and over again. So do you have any prefacing that you want to do before we get to your slides?
I thought were you going to bring up the premises, or I think I have the premises in my slides if you just want to go to that.
Yes, I was going to do that actually. Okay, so this is to be honest with you, and I may be a very dumb person, I don't actually see a connection between these three premises. I don't see how anything that comes into existence is either a product of random chance or design. Okay. I don't think that that's true. All of this rests on there are only two options. And what Jacob does throughout the debate is just repeat that it can only be those two options. And if you make a point or bring up a third one, which I would like to do in a second here, then you're wrong, and it's actually still mine. And let's move on to premise 2. And if I just
Yeah,
repeat that
yeah.
over and over again, then there are only two options. Now, some people call this a false dichotomy, an either or fallacy. There are more. Basically, what I love about this is all we have to do, it's kind of like the Book of Mormon being like the thing that makes Mormonism true or false. If all we have to do is find a third option that can be rationally explained, and none of this follows anymore. So it's, I see a huge weak point here, but I don't understand how the universe came into a known universe came into existence. Therefore, the known universe is not a product of random chance. Because in premise one, it I don't. What am I missing here? Am I an idiot?
So in order it I think in order for the logic to work, you just have to assume the premises are correct. But you can kind of have issues with these premises, and so it makes less sense if you have issues. But
Right.
the way I'm thinking of it is, if stuff has property A, then stuff also has property B or C, and we agree that the stuff has property A, and we agree that the property C is impossible, therefore it has to have property B. It's a little bit of like he's trying to force you. Stuff that exists has to be one of two things, and this one's impossible, therefore it has to be this one.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So I did understand it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So he since he made such a I'm going to make that go away. Since Jacob made such a point to repeat over and over again that it cannot be anything else, there is no third option. I would like to give you a chance to, in as long as you want, just say what you think the third option is, or just what your general response to premise one is. I can bring it back up if you'd like.
This part might be easier to do with the slides.
Beautiful. I will hit add to stream.
So I'll jump to the relevant slide. Okay, this is the argument. Okay. I can control the slides, right?
Yes.
How come the slides keep bouncing?
I thought that was you doing that.
So
I don't know.
They're bouncing a little weirdly, but I guess we can just look at this slide. Do you see how in highlight I've altered the premises to include evolutionary pressures?
Yes. So do you want me to read these for
premise one?
Yeah. Anything that comes into existence is either the product of random chance, design, evolutionary pressure, or necessity.
Right. And so Jacob, he just, without any good argument, he just writes off everything except design, because that's what his goal is. Jacob, he's not coming to this argument with no biases. Right? He's not looking at this and saying, okay, here's all the options. Which option seems most logical? He already knows what his conclusion is, that this is designed. Right. And so he's just attacking anything that seems like a threat to design. And he didn't have any good arguments against evolution or necessity. He just kind of appeals to an infinite regress. He appeals to the weirdness of infinite possibility. But he doesn't have good arguments against those. There could be infinite possibilities. Just because you think it's weird doesn't mean there's not infinite possibilities.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? 2 points about that. The first one was essentially, how do I want to say this? What was the figure that you brought up when you were talking about infinite possibilities? Jacob loves to use analogies. He loves to just something like 18 cajillion. I don't know. It was like one. You were talking about fine tuning, and you
quadrillion.
Said, yeah. 18 quadrillion.
So basically, humanity. Exactly. If you try to look at what percentage of the universe is dedicated to humanity. You slice it up, it's just 1 out of 18 quadrillion slices of the universe.
Right.
It's like
And
nothing.
so,
It's not designed for us.
I would dare say it's actually more likely that a random pool table filled with pool balls says "I love you." The probability is higher than 1 in 18 quadrillion. I think that that's worth saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the way that he dismissed this was simply by saying, well, the multiverse is just theoretical. And what you did, which was brilliant, you said, I'm not talking about the multiverse. I'm talking about the known universe, just how many planets are in that. If you are making a case for fine tuning on Earth for human life, I mean, first of all, you can make a better case for fine tuning for the plant wheat on Earth for human life than for human life. You know what I mean? You can make a better fine tuning case for rice. You can make a better fine tuning case for mosquitoes. Yes, the argument that the universe is is fine-tuned for human life and that should be evidence of some sort for God is very small, but the evidence that Earth is fine-tuned is almost worse. I mean, statistically it's not worse, but for how much they hang on that being the case, it becomes more and more sad. What his argument was, routing back to just dismissing evolution, he said no, because if you want to say that it's evolution, then I personally define evolution as design. I think that evolution is design, and so if you want to call evolution, then I say that my God designed evolution. So you still agree with me? That was the maneuver that he used to do that. Anyway, that popped into my head. I had to get it out before we moved on.
Yeah, he was kind of trying to play this infinite regress argument. Mm-hmm. And the infinite regress, it goes to the principle of turtles all the way down. It's like, okay, maybe there's evolution at this level, but there's a mind that's the foundation. It's like, no, there's evolution here. There's also evolution here. He's like, okay, 2 evolutions, but then there's mind here. And it's like, what's wrong with evolution all the way down? Evolution all the way down is better than God at the bottom. That's not a good argument. And so you would have to have gods all the way down, which is like Mormon gods are giving birth to each other. And which is better, evolution all the way down or Mormon gods all the way down? Like evolution is way simpler. You look at the principles of evolution, super simple, super basic, ontologically parsimonious, and a god is the exact opposite. It's like it's night and day, which is a better explanation.
Right. Geez, I feel bad about this, but I also don't. Okay, premise 2. You didn't make any changes to that. Premise 3.
Yeah,
the known universe
seems.
Yeah, it came into existence. It's just vague enough that it doesn't need any. We can all agree that has happened. The known universe is not a product of random chance, nor evolutionary pressures, nor necessity, although Jacob has no evidence for this premise at all. And that's where the problem lies in his argumentation.
Yeah. He just goes in circles asserting that design's the only reasonable explanation when it's not.
Yeah. So I think I want to say the book is called How to Think. And in that book, there is it gives a definition for what reason is or what logic is. And tell me what you think of this definition, but I really like it. It's basically the explanation that requires the least conjecture is the most reasonable explanation. And in this case, conjecture is basically the fluff that you have to make out on outside of the story to make it happen. So in two examples, we have a Big Bang, we have evolution, we have natural processes that we can just look at and see. In the other one, we require, okay, there's this magical being who has all power. Where did that being come from? What's that being's story? What are that being's motivations? Religions, whatever religion you look at, is using all of this other background data about this being to answer these simple questions that we already have naturalistic answers for. And so if you just ask the question, which explanation requires the least amount of storytelling and conjecture, the the scales tip into the
Yes.
into the atheistic worldview. Anyway, back to you.
There's just one caveat that I just want to make sure is clear, is that I think that this principle, it's basically talking about a principle of parsimony, Occam's razor, simplest explanation without all the conjecture fluff.
Yeah.
I think that principle holds true under a certain condition, which is the explanatory power is equal between two theories. So you're assuming two hypotheses have equal explanatory power. Now, for example, Newtonian physics, right? Newtonian calculations of the celestial bodies. That's a simpler theory than Einsteinian gravity. Einsteinian gravity has got more fluff in it, but Einsteinian gravity has boosted explanatory power. And so explanatory power takes priority over simplicity.
Right. No, that's a brilliant point. When you're trying to make predictions about the future, if one is very simple but not as correct as the more complicated theory, then you definitely want to go with the one that has better explanatory and predictive power. Well put. Okay, I'm gonna let you take over here. You run these slides however you want to. We're probably on the part that's on your channel anyways.
So
now
this is just we can split this. So this one, I'm just trying to highlight how bad his argument is by plugging in different variables, right? So he argued about the universe. Well, we can plug in human beings here, right? Human beings, they come into existence. Jacob Hansen came into existence. Was Jacob Hansen because of random chance or design? Well, it's more complicated than that, right?
Right.
A baby in the womb, that's not a random process, but there's no one in there micromanaging the design of a fetus, right? There's a complicated system that arose from evolution. And that's why evolution is such a powerful argument, because evolution gives the illusion of design through randomness and necessity interacting systemically over time.
Yeah, that's perfect. So what is
so like
premise
his false dichotomy
here?
It just
right it just falls apart.
They all fall apart when you plug in a different variable, because we know too much about so many things.
Can I make a small point about it seems like, and Jacob, I don't mean this in a mean way at all. It seems like you don't understand correlation and causation. That's the whole problem with the God or the fine-tuning argument for me. And one day this just occurred to me, and I was like, oh, okay, that's the worst argument I've ever heard now. I study psychology. You have to figure out when you're working with a patient, is there a correlation here, or is there a causal relationship here? Is one behavior causing another thing, or are they just happening at the same time and you're noticing them at the same time? So a very good example, I'm going to use a good example, and then I'm going to use Jacob's example. One example is teachers notice that students who think they're good at math do better in math. Okay? There's this correlation here. So what should we do? Should we start tricking students into thinking that they're good at math? Is that what we should do? Is the directionality of the causal pattern that way? Or do our students who are good at math think they're good at math? It could be going the other way, right? And this is the thing about fine-tuning that always makes me so frustrated, is he's saying, he made this whole thing about how if you're in a room and it could either be 1 degree or 10 billion degrees, and it just so happens to be at 72 degrees, which is perfect for you, isn't that amazing? And I would say, yes, if the room and you exist separately, then yes, it makes perfect sense that that would be a miracle because there are so many options. But what everybody forgets when they do this, and it drives me insane, is that room created you. The environment, the parameters of that environment created the type of life that could spring forward from that environment. And so what you have is an environment that caters to human life. Therefore, human life emerges from that environment. It is not the other way around. There was not a landscape and individuals in 2 separate vacuums that an all-knowing creator grabbed and put together. That doesn't make any sense. So the whole, even if you want to say, okay, Jacob, it's design, it's fine-tuning. Fine-tuning explains it all. But guess what? You have the direction backwards. The environment created the type of beings that could thrive in that environment. That's what evolution does. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Rant over. It kills me every time people talk about that. And I can bring your slides back up.
Excellent point. Sure. Yeah,
anyway, I'm sorry. I feel like I keep interjecting
the next
here.
Slide a little bit.
Beautiful.
No, that's good. So yeah, the whole correlation thing, it's basically a pattern recognition failure, right? You're seeing a pattern because the correlation is like this and this. Oh, this pattern is so special. It's not that special. That's the problem with the causation argument. So like the whole dice thing, Jacob kept trying to play with this dice analogy. But the thing is, when you throw enough dice at the wall, you're going to get interesting
already
patterns.
made the slides. He had to stick to the dice analogy because he already put it in the slides.
Yeah, he was stuck in this silly analogy that, oh, our fine-tuning is all of these perfect dice. But that is the definition of selection bias. When you only zoom in and you say, oh, look at my dice are so special because I zoomed in on them. Guess what, dude? Zoom out. Your dice are not that special. You just got lucky, right?
Zoom out, dude, could just have been your rebuttal for everything the whole time. Just, hey, how about you zoom out a little bit?
Zoom out. He's like, well, multiverse is absurd. Where's your evidence that the multiverse is absurd? There could be, there is empirical and logical mathematical evidence for a multiverse. And it's still in the beginning stages. Maybe it's not that solid of evidence, but it's not zero. It's not pure conjecture. It's not just people making up stuff because they are afraid of theism. Like, this is a legitimate idea that we need to consider. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, man.
Yeah. So is it clear from this image how the selection bias is affecting, or do I need to talk about this a little bit more?
I think it's clear, but maybe just in case somebody has this in their pocket and is listening, tell us what we're looking at here.
So you see the 6s in the corner, top right corner, you got a bunch of 6s. Theists, they love to say, oh, the earth is finely tuned for life. Look, we've got a tilt at an axis that gives us our seasons. We've got a moon that gives us our tides. We've got a Goldilocks distance from the sun. Blah, 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 blah. Like the earth that just got lucky. We've got 8 trillion planets in the universe, at least.
Yes.
And there's no evidence of life on any of them. Nothing on Mars, nothing on Venus. Like, why is it that the only planet with life looks like a planet that got lucky, right? It's like, oh, Earth just
Right.
happens to be in this sweet spot. It's like, oh, God was so smart with Earth, but he was really dumb with Mars and Venus.
Yeah.
But he was really smart with Earth, and we're so special.
Right.
Like, why is your God not consistent? It
Right,
looks like
and-
just one planet randomly got the right variables.
What's so funny about this is when Jacob dismisses, we don't require the multiverse to be an absolute fact for what you just said to be true. We're only talking about the known universe at the moment. But what Jacob dismissed so quickly about the multiverse, saying that it's not scientific, isn't it part of Mormon theology that Mormon God came from a host of other Mormon gods who all have their planets out there populated full of people anyways? So doesn't Mormonism kind of require something like multiple universes to be a thing in order for every god to have its own universe? So why would you dismiss that when your theology, like, you need that to work? You need it. You should be latching onto the multiverse, saying science and math prove that there are millions, an unknown number of gods out there, all creating life and populating universes. Why would you dismiss that, saying that it's not scientific?
Such a good point. Such a good point.
And why would you use scientificity as a merit when you're trying to explain how the theistic worldview explains things better?
Yeah. Where in the Bible is the multiverse? Show me the verse in Isaiah that talks about the multiverse. Theism is not giving you the tools you need to explain reality.